Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. It's the only backpacking show where the hosts are constantly ever so tired because we're sleeping in different beds and just whisking around the world. It's a right dilemma. I'm Alun and I'm here with one of the greatest backpackers of all time. It's the ever never-ending Adam.
I certainly hope that's right, mate. I hope I am never ending because I'm having a little bit too much fun at the moment. We've got an awesome show this week. I'm going to share a story with you that I've been wanting to tell you for a couple of days because it was that recent. I went on the Kepler Track, which is one of New Zealand's great walks. I'm absolutely knackered, but looking forward to talking about it. And then, of course, we've got Tales of a Trip at the end. There is a sort of a theme in this episode. It's the native wildlife trying to ruin the day, let's say, and then we've got an amazing story for you, from you in the Patreon section, in the Lost and Found. You're going to talk to us about something that happened to you very recently as well, mate, involving another very, very rare species of animal.
We don't like to gatekeep stories here on Tripology. It's a beautiful free podcast and a beautiful free community, but I have got an absolute blinder of a story where I got to see very tiny 45 million year old species of animal. Very rare to find, and I can't wait to share it. But we're going to put it in the Patreon section because Tripology's growing. It's getting ever so beautiful and big and nice and luscious, and we would love some of you who are really committed to the show to head over to Patreon. There's a link in the description. Fling us a couple of bucks. You get to hear a story about this mythological creature in the jungle. But I'm very excited this week, Adam, because I've rabbited on and on and on the last few weeks about my adventures in Borneo, and we've always said one day soon we'll get around to hearing your tales in New Zealand. So please embark upon them. Tell me the tales, I'll shut up, and occasionally I'll make funny jokes.
Good, I'm very looking forward to it. 45 million years old. Wow, that's even older than me. And I tell you what, mate, I do feel every single year as old as I am. Big 36, 37 next year. Oh my God, I don't want to think about it. But I did manage to complete the Kepler Track, which is, of course, one of New Zealand's great walks. It was just a matter of days ago. I didn't think I could do it, but I'm going to give you the step-by-step rundown, just in case anyone wants to do it, anyone wants to reach out, anyone wants to wonder whether they're carrying too much stuff on the Kepler Track, which was what I found out on day one, mate.
Okay, as you're telling this story, do you still have the symptoms of delayed onset muscular tendinitis, that sort of thing? Are you still throbbing? Are you still hurting? Are your calves experiencing pain?
I would say they are. I mean, I have also done an awesome amount of driving. We're probably talking somewhere in the region of 1,000 kilometres since stopping the track. And there's been a couple of Lord of the Rings filming locations involved in those few days. But yeah, I tend to find that when I take my walking shoes off and put my Birkenstocks on, the reason I mentioned their Birkenstocks because something happened to me this morning, actually, where I was in a cafe and two guys were on a different table pointing underneath my table at my Birkenstocks and making fun of me as a result. I'm pretty sure that's what was going on, right?
I didn't like you saying Birkenstocks there. It stunk to me of the kind of thing that people do where they go, oh, have you seen my lighter? It's a Zippo, of course. Or, oh, my bag's an Osprey. Or, oh, my hair straighteners, GHD.
Yeah.
That sort of shit.
Well, I think... maybe Birkenstocks, just like the Hoover, have now, they're so popular and so ubiquitous that they've actually become more important than the product itself. It's more, people know the brand before they say sandal.
Yeah, let's name a couple of others. You've got of course, sellotape in the UK. You don't think of sticky tape without thinking of sellotape.
Throwing it back to me.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Beats by Dre, would that be an example? People always refer to them as Beats instead of headphones.
Well, that particular product, but people don't refer to headphones writ large as Beats. Oh, let me grab my Beats.
I might be 36, but I know what the kids are like these days. They do say that sort of stuff, I promise you. I said, what you got in those Beats? Tripology.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear it. Anyway, Adam, you're delirious from all the hiking. Continue.
I am. So anyway, we set off on what we thought was going to be day one. My partner and I had our bags packed. We pulled into a campsite in Kea, which is kind of the biggest town in that region. Still bloody small, by the way. Everything shuts off at 7 o'clock. Everyone goes to sleep because they're all old. And it's on the very edge of the Fiordland National Park, which is one of the most beautiful, one of the wettest places in all of the South Island of New Zealand. And the Kepler Track, of course, forms part of that as well. But we woke up early the next morning to an untold amount of rain, and we spoke to the Department of Conservation, who advised us that you would be stupid to start the walk today.
You can't go Tia now, you'll have to go Tia later.
Yeah, that's what they said. The whole Department of Conservation office was rolling around on the floor with laughter. And we said, well, what options have we got? And they said, look, free of charge, because the weather's so bad, you can just knock your 2 campsite bookings. A lot of people stay in huts, which are incredibly expensive. But we thought, if we're going to do it, we'll do it properly. We'll carry our tents on our back with mattresses and sleeping bags and all of our food for 3 days. So we're kind of doing it the hard way, I suppose. And there wasn't really any training that went on. I mean, it's a 60-kilometre loop, which isn't, over the course of 3 or 4 days, isn't really that difficult.
Not too bad.
No. What were the sort of distances you were doing in the Everest region?
Oh, Adam, I don't even want to talk about it, mate, because I think it's going to take away from your story. Because let me tell you, 60 kilometres for me in the Everest region before breakfast.
Before you tucked into your momos for the day, you were already doing 60 Ks. But anyway, we decided to delay. We stayed at the campsite for another night, and then we gave all our valuables to that campsite. We chucked our van in the car park, and we set off on the first day, which was only going to be a short day. It was still raining, mind you. But we just did a short 15, 16K to the first campsite, and we were very, very glad to see a little opening for us on the beach. So the first stop was a place called Broad Bay, which is very, very beautiful. The walk goes through the forest the entire way, and it's rainforest that goes right along the lake shore. It's absolutely stunning. The walk itself was quite well trodden, I guess you'd call the path. It was well kept. I mean, there's a lot of money that goes into the conservation around New Zealand, as a lot of people who have been here will know. And then Broad Bay is this sort of campsite that goes lengthways along the lakefront, and then you can just sort of camp along the beach. And we were the last people there. We were pretty tired, but we left it as long as we possibly could so the rain would stop. It didn't. But anyway, we got there nice and dry, a little bit tired, set up the tent without too many issues, and then we tried to tackle all of our newer camping equipment that we hadn't tested, mate. We were starving, and we had to cook some food.
Well, one question I do have, we all know that you're an exceptional backpacker. You're very experienced. You've been on the road for a long time. I don't really have you down as a good camper, as a good, I don't really have you down as a survivalist in the wilderness. Who's taking the lead in these sort of interactions? Your partner or you? Is she going, Adam, we need to set up the tent. Let me put this here. Let me put that there. Or are you very much sort of the dominating force there?
I'm just doing a thumbnail for Instagram. Give me 5 minutes.
Stop. Just hold this ring light.
I didn't realise it'd be this kind of camping. No, it was, it was 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other, but neither of us experienced campers, fair to say. I would go as far to say, not only am I not that experienced in camping in the wild, I also am not that interested in it. Being out in the middle of nowhere, even with the lovely views, don't get me wrong, I love a hike. I hike for weeks.
Oh, you'd have let her fucking know as well, wouldn't you? You'd been like, just so you know, I'm not really interested in this. I'm mainly here for you. So,
if she could hear you say that now, I think there'd be another discussion afterwards, because that's not too dissimilar to the sort of conversations we've already had.
I know. I've been camping with you, and me and everyone else on that trip was made to feel like they were doing you a colossal favour.
Oh, that's funny. Luckily, she doesn't listen to the show. But no, her family, in particular her dad, has gone on a load of wildlife trips. He's actually a photographer. So he's been away many a time, and he sent us lots of voice notes and a PDF document and all this sort of stuff. And I mean, my partner's been around him long enough to know the sort of bits and bobs that we might need, any sort of weight-saving techniques and this sort of stuff. Turned out the weight-saving technique was just to load everything on my back.
That is a good technique, isn't it? If you're a more diminutive person, just sort of try and ensnare a larger man into a relationship and then load him up like a proverbial camel.
Yeah, no, it was wicked. But no, I do think it was probably, when someone sort of takes the lead, you then allow them to in future situations. Do you know what I mean? There was a number of times when it just I sort of went, you know what you're doing, and I kind of don't. So I'll just let this play out, and let me know if you need a pair of hands or whatever.
Well, you know what Lao Tzu said? He said to lead people, walk behind them. So oftentimes you can be like, I'm letting you take the lead, and by virtue of that, I am leading you. That's what I like to tell people.
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty cool. I guess that was appropriate for some situations, but it was obviously a test of our physical and psychological capacities. We tried to get our new camping cooker working, which is so lightweight. It's basically just an application or an attachment that you put on the top of a gas canister. And I was, I don't know what I was doing, putting the bags away or doing something. And my partner was twisting the top onto the gas canister and then had the lighter ready, lit it up in this little communal kitchen area just as the sun was setting, and hadn't realised that the hissing sound that was coming from the gas canister was actually a leak underneath the application. And as she lit the thing, I mean, the size of the fireball sort of sent her flying backwards. It was probably bigger than a basketball. This flame.
What did she think the hissing was initially? Was she like, oh, this is such a perfect location if it wasn't for all these snakes around?
I honestly don't know. It's like one of those things that when you look at what happened, of course it was still the gas leaking. I mean, it was so obvious. But when you twist the application on the top, because it's kind of a valve, isn't it? It does hiss a little bit, and then you have to twist it further until it fully shuts, and then you have the on and off switch on top, which then allows the gas to come out or shuts it off. Okay. But it hadn't been twisted on tight enough.
So there was a huge vertical fireball.
Well, it was like a massive.
Is that why you're wearing fake eyebrows?
Are they fake? Are they not? I used to get bullied for my eyebrows at school, mate. Be careful what you say. You bring up some trauma.
No, they're beautiful. I'm sorry.
The girls at school used to bully me because they could not believe I didn't pluck them.
Well, that's just envy, mate. That's just envy.
Yeah, when you're a 14-year-old boy, what do you know?
You know, Adam plucks his eyebrows. That's the only way he could possibly be so perfect. And he's had a bunch of plastic surgery. And he spends all his time in the gym. God, I love him.
And he loves camping. So anyway, a huge fireball went up, and my poor partner, I mean, she was beside herself. She couldn't believe it. She thought the thing was going to explode. That was her initial reaction. She couldn't believe it didn't explode.
Evacuate all the snakes.
To the fire assembly point, which was ironically next to where we were standing. But yeah, it was just one of those. I blew it out, stayed calm. Would you believe, in these circumstances? Blew it out. We made a delicious meal of pesto pasta, which was overcooked and undercooked at the same time somehow. But we're getting used to. We'd actually, little tip for you, little technique. Have you got some of those silicone-y bottles that you can top up? They're like generic things that you can just put sun cream in, or whatever.
Yeah, like 100ml travel pack.
Yeah. We put some pesto in one of those because it's much lighter and a smaller quantity than a jar that you buy it in, and we took that to kind of pimp up our pasta.
Yeah,
it was pretty good.
Fuck the government, you know what I mean?
We were the envy of all. Yeah, once we'd put our hair out, we went back over. Oh my god, yeah, it's a shame about setting the place on fire, but I like the look of your pesto.
Yeah.
So that was it, mate. We went to sleep. We woke up with the sun over the lake. The door of the tent opened onto the water. It was. I'll put some photos on Instagram, of course, for anyone that follows us at Tripology Podcast. If you're listening to this show and you don't follow us on Instagram, I mean, what are you even doing? But yeah, it was absolutely stunning stuff, mate. Really lovely. Forget about the sandflies. Don't worry about them. But overall, great first day.
Great, mate. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about the rest of the trip. But first, a little word from this advert. Hello, us again. Just here to remind you about a wonderful thing called Patreon.
For as little as a few dollars, I mean, that's a bowl of rice or a coffee. We know you drink coffee. You can help support the show and you get access to loads of bonus content.
It seamlessly fits in right into your podcatcher stream. Like, say you're listening on Spotify, for example. It'll just come up, the Patreon episode, every week. And after the theme music, you get a whole 15 minutes of me and Adam talking all kinds of nonsense.
And we're accessible as well. You can send us a message. We talk to people all the time on Instagram, emails, the lot. So we'd really love to have you form part of the community. We really appreciate the support.
There's a link in the description. Go and click on it. Head over to Patreon. We'll see you there. Oh, what a glorious, handsome advert that really was. Adam, Tell me about the rest of your trip.
So there we were, day 2. It was like one of those. I'm sure that there's lots of people listening to this who can relate to this, but you wish you knew how long, never ending, you might say, your day was going to be at the very beginning, so that you didn't drag your heels, so that you didn't boil the water for a coffee in the morning, so that you didn't, go and take a load of photos and videos of the lake. If you knew how long your day was about to be, you would have just left A, 2 hours earlier, and B, not faffed around with all of the unnecessary bollocks.
I think asking you not to faff around in the morning is like asking someone else to not sleep or not wake up, or it's a complete fictitious event.
I'm actually learning a lot about what I'm like around the people I'm close to now. So this is it's almost therapy for me. This is
Do you find that a lot of people have a very linear experience of you?
Yeah, it's certainly the ones I'm close to. There seems to be some things that I've heard many times before.
Yeah, once my mum cooked food for you and she was dead excited for you to try it, and she said, "Oh, dinner's ready, food's ready," and you were off doing something else. I watched her beautiful Polish demeanour sink as she had to cover it with a plate to make sure it didn't go cold in the time it took you to get over to it.
Oh no, what was I doing? Faffing around?
You were faffing, yeah.
Sorry, Mrs. Davis. I'm just doing a thumbnail for Instagram.
Yeah. Hold this ring light for me while I eat.
No, your mum's a wonderful cook. She is, and I can't wait for the next time I have some of her pesto pasta.
Perfectly insulated beneath a plate.
Yeah, amazing. But yeah, day 2, we started off. It was Broad Bay to Iris Burn campsite. Now, a lot of people that do this walk, they either stay in huts or they take their own tent. More people stay in huts, I think, or you can do day hike sections. But I mean, Broad Bay to Iris Burn is a mammoth day by any stretch, because you actually go up to a place called Luxmore. There's a place called Mount Luxmore and Luxmore Hut as well, which is in a beautiful region. It's like meadows and mountains in the background, lovely sort of plants, very hardy, windswept plants up there. It's quite barren, but most people would stop at Luxmore, but we then went on for another 6 hours after that point, after having lunch. We stopped for lunch for an hour and a half. Had we known. And it was just one of those days where it, like we said at the top of the episode, it never, ever ended. Now, my partner and I are probably carrying at least 10, 15 kilos on our backs. Felt more like 30.
Well, it probably was more like 30 for you and probably more like 10 for your partner. She said, I've evenly split it. It's 10 kilos each. You were like, really? Because mine feels like 30.
Yeah, I'm no expert, but my spine is in about 5 different pieces.
A spine, of course, normally in way more than 5 pieces. It's got several vertebrae.
That started joining together.
You've given me the backpack that fuses my spine. Thank you very much.
We did. We were quite proud of what we took, but little message to anyone out there: maybe don't take fresh fruit because it weighs a fucking ton. But I was there, stubborn as anything, saying, "No, I need my bananas, I need my peanut butter, I need my apples, and I need my oranges."
And don't even think about hiking without a bucket of kimchi.
Yeah, when this podcast gets to a size where people start sending us free shit, I'm always down for some kimchi, especially if it's free.
Yeah, I've never seen you pay for kimchi, but I've seen you consume kilos of the stuff.
No, so anyway, this is where we met our first. It was the first encounter with what turned out to be our arch enemy on the trip, which is the indigenous, the native, the celebrated, the protected
Maoris.
Not the Maoris, no. The parrot, the very intelligent, one of the most intelligent bird species there is, the Kea. Now, did you see a Kea when you were in New Zealand?
They've got a hooked beak, haven't they?
They do, and they're
and as such, I consider them some of my closest friends.
Yeah, we could have done with you at the campsite, actually, when we realised that the tin of salmon that we'd brought didn't have a ring paw on it.
But Alun, you didn't say you were going to surprise me in New Zealand. Oh, it's the Kea.
You're far less annoying. I mean, they are They are amazing birds. They are beautiful. They've got lovely feathers, lovely plumage. Is that the right word? You would say plumage?
Yes.
And they're kind of an olive green, a bit of royal green in there, some shades of blue. You know, it's almost pearlescent and that sort of stuff.
Oh, you're differentiating between the different types of green that a Kea has.
Yeah, no, there's a few.
Oh, I don't know if you're more olive or royal, but you're beautiful either way.
Is that emerald? But yeah, they're everywhere, mate. And anyone, I mean, there are signs at all these campsites and huts and stuff that say, please do not leave food out. Please don't feed the Keas, by the way. And also don't leave your stuff because they're very destructive. So we came up against one of them at the Mount Luxmore hut, but then we still had another 6 or 7 hour journey. And the walk after that, I mean, it just keeps going up forever. And I know, like, I definitely don't want to complain. I was having a wonderful time. I mean, this is one of New Zealand's great walks, one of the 11, and it is sometimes people's favourite. So, you know, I was having an amazing time. But I think, again, when it comes to travel and expectations, and they're what kind of govern happiness. When you think your day's going to end, and it doesn't, and that happens 5 times in the day, and you've got a huge backpack, and you're fucking knackered, and you've slept in a tent, and you're being, you know, abused by sandflies and native bird life. It's not all good all the time, I would say.
I understand. Your mood started crashing. So what was this Kea doing then, mate?
Well, I mean, I can probably just skip to when it was at its worst. We finally got, after a very long, very arduous, absolutely spectacular walk to Iris Burn. We then went down into the rainforest, zigzagged all the way through again. Felt like it went on for hours and hours and hours. Finally got to the campsite, set up the tent, and there we could hear the unmistakable call of a load of Keas that seemingly never sleep. They just work around the clock. I'm sure they're doing fucking shifts, a lot of them.
Yeah, fuck them.
And we managed to rustle up our favourite dish in the evening.
Pasta and pesto.
Yeah.
Pasta and pesto served with a show, a great big fireball into the sky, and then 20 minutes later, undercooked, overcooked, pasta pesto, baby.
Yeah. Oh, I nailed this one. I'm there, you know, like a fucking twat going, do you want it al dente? Or like I've got any fucking control with this gas.
Yeah.
So that was pretty good. And then we managed to muster up the energy to do that. And then our tent was already set up. That was the first thing we did. And then we went to sleep. And we were woken up multiple times in the evening by what I tried to convince my partner was the wind. So these Keas being disruptive and destructive and hungry, it would seem, you actually, at the Iris Burns campsite, you actually have a separate storage, which is basically a cage with a gate, and you're told you can't put your bags anywhere near the perimeter of the cage, and all the food is to be hung from the roof using a carabiner or a hook, because the carabiners will get in there, and you can't have any food in your tent, otherwise they will come and attack you.
The carabiners will get in there.
No.
Like they're sort of animated.
No, the Keas. So, you know, make no mistake, we were aware that these things were going to affect us if we didn't follow the old rules. And we did absolutely that. We put all of our food away in the storage. We kept our bags away from our tents in this cage thing. And we went to sleep thinking it was going to be a wonderful, wonderful night. Because, again, I'll put some pictures on Instagram, but the campsite itself is outrageous in terms of how it looks. It's huge mountains that come down dramatically into the valley floor, and then there's just, I think it was a 5 or 6 tents or something. You're paying about $50-$60 for a campsite, by the way, in the neighbouring hut, which we were told repeatedly by signs and rangers, you absolutely cannot use the hut facilities if you haven't paid for it, or are sitting pretty sweet at the moment at about $145 a night.
Oof.
For some basic accommodation. So think about that what you will.
Quite spenny.
Yeah. So, you know, load of noise in the night, very windy, and I was sort of half asleep thinking, oh, it's probably just the wind that's rattling the tent. And my partner was like, yeah, last time I checked, the wind wasn't pecking the back of my head. It feels a little bit more like I'm being attacked by a bird, funnily enough. And I was like, no, they wouldn't do that. We didn't leave any food in here. And, you know, I'm sure
Through the tent, it was pecking her head.
Yeah, so we we have a very small tent just for two people,
Yeah.
and it's obviously got one of those outer waterproof sections on it as well.
Yeah.
Before we went to bed, this was when my partner was brushing her teeth, and I was just cleaning up and stuff. I could see some commotion with my head torch going on over in our tent's direction, and as I ran over there, this little bird, which are actually quite big to be honest, scuttled away. And the thing with birds in New Zealand, please someone send me a message if you've ever noticed this, because there's no predators in New Zealand, the birds walk on the floor. They almost never fly. It is absolutely crazy. They just saunter along like, they know no one's going to fuck with them. It's amazing. So this thing kind of hopped away, and then I could see the damage. One of my flip-flops was off to the side. They'd basically ripped apart the handle of one of our walking poles. And then I could only find one of my partner's hiking shoes.
Wow. So it was thieving, it was robbing. But how was this avian terrorist getting to her head through the outer skin of the tent?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, the end of that story is basically I had to go searching with my head torch in a very large radius. Finally found her shoe that was just been chucked into a bush unapologetically. Brought that back, put everything in the tent this time. Then when we went to sleep, we just thought, there's no way that anything else is going to happen. Surely these fucking birds go to bed at some point. And then we've got this cover over the main tent, which is just waterproof, I guess. But they come under.
Goodness me. What a saucy little bird.
What the fuck am I supposed to say to that? You could at least peck my head first.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, we woke up in the middle of the night multiple times. I could hear that it was trying to get to. It was just so persistent and annoying. This thing just trying to eat away at us, and
so it's burrowing under the outer skin, and then it was inside the internal It's probably attracted to the heat as well, mate.
It wasn't that fucking hot in there.
You got yourself a heat-seeking Kea.
Yeah, I could tell you that much. But it was super aggressive and annoying, and I almost refused to believe it because of how ridiculous it sounded. But then when we woke up in the morning, we had a very quick breakfast and we put all the camping equipment away.
A quick breakfast of Kea, smoked by a fireball, baby.
I don't want to know what the prison sentence would be for, cooking up one of those.
Well, that's good, mate. I like that you had an arch nemesis on your hike. Too few tripological stories have a supervillain.
Yeah, well, I mean, it wasn't just that. It caused damage, serious damage. When we were packing up in the morning, I got the sleeping bags out and the mattresses and stuff. I saw 3 or 4 really large holes and rips in the tent where it had been at it with its beak. So I don't know who's going to pay for that. I would imagine it's us. But you do need to be careful with these birds. It's no fucking joke. They will attack you.
There you go. Well, I love that story, mate. I love that you're out there living adventures and having a fun time out there in New Zealand. I'm sure we'll hear more in subsequent weeks. Thank you for sharing. But on this show, we wouldn't be anything without you, the listener. So we always, at the end of the show, give one of you an opportunity to tell us your greatest travel story. You can go to tripologypodcast.com, link in the description, to submit your tales of a trip. Let's hear what this week's listener had to say.
About 8 years ago, I was backpacking through Australia with my friend Michelle and some other friends. We had 2 cars with us, and we were basically hopping from campsite to campsite, going on adventures during the day. And at night, we'd cook some dinner, chat, chill out. And on one particular night I think it was in South Australia somewhere, we found this campsite, which was completely empty. So we were literally the only ones there, which was kind of nice. We had some dinner, cleaned up, and then we were talking about possibly watching a movie together. So, one of us had a laptop with them, and so we were talking about the kind of movie, and someone's like, oh, we should watch Wolf Creek. Now, if just in case some of you might not know Wolf Creek, spoiler alert a little bit, it's a horror movie about backpackers being kidnapped into the bush and tortured and killed. Wonderful. I know. Anyway, that's what we ended up watching. So it was getting darker, and we had this laptop, which was on, we were still at the picnic table, so the laptop was on one end of the head of the picnic table, basically. and we were sitting along the table, and the light of the laptop was sort of projecting right towards the other end of the table as a kind of a spotlight. So we were we were watching this movie, very intense faces, obviously, since it was a scary movie. And at some point, there was this weird thing that happened where all of a sudden, not only scary things came from the screen itself, but also from underneath the table. Like out of nothing, there were these massive legs, shadows of legs that were sort of like boom, 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 started walking across the table, and it turned out to be a really, really big huntsman spider. And but the shadow of the spotlight made those legs so much bigger than they were. I mean, this is a big kind of spider, guys, but it made it so much worse. And we were screaming, the four of us. Oh my goodness, it was so scary. And later we looked at the spider and we are like, oh my God, you're so big. And oh no, we couldn't finish the movie after this. So we decided to shut down the laptop and watch it another time. Australia and its animals. Oh my goodness.
Iris there with an Australasian arachnophobic horror escapade of epic proportions. Thank you so much for sending in your tale of a trip. I've actually been to the movie poster of Wolf Creek, has a road on it, and I haven't. Here is a picture of me laying down across that road, juxtaposed with the movie poster. There you go.
Oh, very cool. So the road...
For those of us listening to the video pod.
Yeah. But you've been to the road where that film is based from?
Where the movie poster was shot, and I believe... I've not seen the film because I don't like horror movies, but I believe it features in the film. Yeah, Wolf Creek, famous backpacker horror movie escapade. And Huntsman, famous, of course, for being a big spider.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those that you just almost can't write. If you ever... I mean, if you're going to write something and not be in the experience yourself, I mean, a big, horrible, hairy huntsman spider coming out of the shadows, looking much bigger because of a spotlight, when you're watching one of the scariest films that you equally could be a part of because you're a backpacker. I mean, as a scary experience, it's right up there, isn't it?
Yeah, and you know... I think that thing where the shadow cast makes it look much larger, that's almost a cliche used in movies. It often turns out to be a little small thing. That's never happened to me in real life. I've never experienced that big shadow cast. And I've gone, what's that? It's so big. And it's turned out to be small. Have you?
Not that I can remember. I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, I also don't, much like you, don't really look to be scared. That's not sort of a feeling I enjoy. And, you know, both you've been camping with me and now my partner, you might find it quite easy to believe. It's not a huge jump that I don't watch any scary movies, and I certainly don't want to be hanging around with any spuntsmans.
Yeah, me neither.
Certainly don't. I'm bloody terrified. Don't want to be hanging around with Keas or Huntsmans or anything else. Just a bit unpredictable, mate. It's not my bag.
Yeah, not for me. My mind is too disturbed anyway to introduce any external disturbing. Thank you so much for sending in that Tales of a Trip. Listeners can do the same. There's a link in the description. Now we're going to go over to Patreon. It's going to be a blinding story about me trekking through the jungle, finding this ancient monkey, and then trying to get home desperately. So please head over to Patreon and listen to that story. It's going to be great. We'll see you next Tuesday.
We'll see you there. Bye.